To order now the CART nominating subcommittee meeting. This will be a very short meeting today, and the purpose of this is to do two things. The first is to go ahead and identify a chair for this committee for the year. This by the CART bylaws. This committee is constituted for one calendar year. The principal job of this is to recommend a slate of officers for the calendar year, which will be voted on at the first CART meeting of the year. The other function of this committee is that in the event that there is a vacancy amongst the executive committee, the chair, vice chair, and secretary, would be up to this committee to reconvene at that point in time to recommend the filling of the vacancy. So those are the two functions of this committee. So you're on the committee for the year. You have been selected or appointed by Charlene Robinson. Charlene is the acting chair of the CART currently, with the passing of Armando Rios Jr. Sadly this last at the end of the year last year. So with that, I again call the meeting to order. We have all of the members of the CART subcommittee currently present. If you want to go ahead and just say your name and say you're here, that would be great. So if you'll in turn, Laura, why don't we start with you?
Laura Anastasi.
Okay, thanks, Laura. Fred?
Fred Nakarati.
Okay, and Steve?
Steve Huffman.
Okay, thank you. We have a quorum. The first thing that we need to do is amongst you identify a chairman for this committee for this year. So I open the floor for those discussions.
Do we have any ideas of anybody that are interested in doing this?
I can tell you that I have had, amongst the committee here for this chairmanship, I have not had a conversation with any of the three of you about who would be the chair of this year.
No, but is there anybody on the current CART committee that has the time and interest in doing this? In terms of chairing the committee?
Chairing the broader CART committee or the subcommittee?
The CART committee. That's what we're here to do, right?
Yeah, that's what we're here. But our first order of business is to select a chair of the nominating subcommittee. So that's the agenda item that we're on.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So amongst the three of you, if one of you would be willing to volunteer for the chairmanship, that would be great, or nominate one of your colleagues here.
All right. Well, I'll help out unless somebody wants to do it. Fred?
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to do either to chair this committee or to be the chair of the CART overall. I'm good either way. Obviously, it's something that's in my wheelhouse that I know how to do, and I'm willing to do. I'm willing to step up to do whatever is necessary.
All right, somebody's got to make a decision, Fred. Which one do you want to try to do?
I would like to be the chair of the overall CART, to nominate, maybe self-nominate myself to do that. Is that possible, Jim?
I think you're wide open to nominate whoever you think you ought to nominate. So, yeah,
right,
I don't know that there's anything.
So we can get out of this meeting, Laura, unless you want to. I'll volunteer to chair this nominating subcommittee. Right, that's what we need to do first.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, I will do that.
Okay. I guess I would need a second.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye or wave at me.
Aye.
Okay. Looks like we have a motion that has passed. So the second item of the agenda is to nominate a slate of officers. We have three positions. The first is the chair, second is vice chair, third is secretary. I have spoken to both Charlene Robinson, the current CART vice chair, about her willingness to be an officer, and she indicated that she would be willing to continue on as an officer. I also indicated, asked Chris Albright, who is the current secretary, if he'd be willing to continue on in some capacity as an officer, and he indicated he'd be willing to do so as well. So with that, Mr. Chair, is my report.
All right. Well, so let me ask you this, Fred, because I mean, it's not like a rule or anything, but we have had several people that have started, you know, like as what is it, secretary, and then it's the vice chair and the chair, right? So we have had many people that have served in other positions and then they move up to the chair. I would just suggest for continuity and unfortunately with everything that happened with Armando, it seems like it would make sense to move Charlene and Chris up, and Fred, if you want to serve as secretary, and so that way we've got some continuity, and that's for this calendar year, right, Jim?
That's correct. That's correct. Some things I would note in terms of what will be going on this calendar year is, we are going to be looking at the final 5-year program of the RTA plan. So there'll probably be some additional meetings that one might expect associated with that. We also have our statutorily required state performance audit that will begin at the end of this current fiscal year. So mid-year, we're going to be going through a process with the Auditor General's office, where for those of you who aren't familiar with it, after the first 10 years of the RTA, we have an audit, and then every 5 years thereafter, there is a statutorily required performance audit, and that performance audit looks at both the PAG side of the house and the RTA, although it's the RTA language that triggers it.
So now, Jim, the audit, though, the auditor is not limited to, when they do their audit, to just talking to the officers of the CART committee. They can talk to whoever they want.
They will talk to everybody. They will
Right.
go out and interview our jurisdictional partners. Yeah, it'll be pretty extensive, the number of people that they go out to talk to. I don't recall whether they went to any I don't know that they went to trade groups or anything like that, but I know that they did certainly interview the jurisdictions.
Right. Now, also, I mean, who knows when we're going to go to the ballot, but there's no conflict with people being officers on the CART committee and also being involved in the political campaign of reauthorization whenever that happens.
To my knowledge, there's no prohibition, but you would have to, be as an individual, not as a CART, not representing yourself as a CART member, I don't think.
Is there anybody else that has reached out to you about leadership of the CART committee that we're not considering or snubbing or anything like that?
I've not had anybody reach out to me this year. Fred and the two current officers are the only people I've spoken to about leadership for the CART this year.
All right. Are you guys okay? Do you have any thoughts? Is like, I don't want to railroad this. Like, anybody have any thoughts, concerns, other names, anything like that?
Fred, would you be willing to serve as the secretary?
Yeah, absolutely. And what Steve, what you suggested is the correct way to go about it. I agree. Yeah, I agree completely with that. To go through that, so to speak, chain of command, if there is even time for me during my term, as the Oro Valley CART representative, to get to that point. But yeah, definitely, I think that's the right way to go about it, is to move through the hierarchy as you should. So that's I guess, to answer your question, Laura, that's where I am. And my own 2 cents on that is, in the past, how have candidates or nominations been handled for these positions, Jim?
In the past, there have been situations where we have varied. Last year, instead of moving the whole slate of officers up, Mr. Rios was appointed by his colleagues on the nominating committee to serve as the chair for the past year. So we did hold the current officers in their positions. And in fact, there have been years where we've just carried on the same slate of officers year after year as well. So it hasn't necessarily always been a progression at the end of the year. If there's been a year where not much has happened, they went ahead and kept the officers in the same positions. It's totally at the pleasure of the nominating committee to make that recommendation.
Well, and ultimately the committee can do whatever the heck they want. Like we can make a recommendation. Nobody's bound to anything. So.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I would just like to make sure that, you know, as Steve had referenced earlier, you know, to make sure that we're not eliminating it or not including anybody in the nominations moving forward.
Well, this makes sense to me if everybody's okay with that. And then the CART committee can either, you know, revel in our recommendations or completely disregard our hard work here. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. So I think we're good at this point. And again, just like you're saying, Steve, you know, we'll move forward with that, I think, and then see if there's any grievances one way or another.
Okay, so I will, for the purposes of time, I will nominate that we have Charlene as chair, Chris as vice chair, right?
Yes.
Is the official, and Fred as secretary of the CART committee for 2021 calendar year.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Actually, I'm sorry, I'm preempting you, Steve. You're the chair.
That's all right. You're doing a heck of a job. Okay, so we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. All right, looks like the motion carries.
Mr. Chair, as we appear to have everybody willing to serve, I don't see a need to recommend an alternate. So I guess with that, that concludes the work of this committee for this meeting, certainly, and hopefully we won't need to reconvene you because of a vacancy in the future.
Hey, Jim, can I ask you a favor while I'm on here with you?
Certainly.
For our CART committee, can I ask you to ask Julie to send the link to my, I'm working from home today. Can they send the link to my home email address so that I don't have to hold my phone the whole meeting?
Yeah, certainly. And if you'll just drop me a quick email as to where you'd like to have it sent, I'll make sure that it happens.
Okay. You know what? If you could just is Julie in or she's working somewhere?
Julie should be listening in right now.
Hi,
Okay,
Steve.
I will just circumvent that. I think I've got an email from her. I will send her my home email. And if you could just make sure she got it, because that way
Copy
we
me
don't have
or
to
good.
play telephone operator there.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Well, then I guess, Mr. Chair, not to steal your role here, but I guess we can declare the meeting adjourned as we've gone through the agenda. And
Perfect.
I want to thank you all for taking the time this morning. And we have a meeting, I believe, tentatively set for the 29th, at which point in time we'll present the recommendations. Mr. Huffman, if you'd be kind enough to on the agenda, we have a nominating subcommittee report. What I would do then is, refer to the fact that the subcommittee met, that you were selected chair, and then with the election of officers, if you wouldn't mind making the recommendation of the slate of officers, that would be great.
Sure. Perfect.
All right,
So that's the 28th, right?
That would be Friday. I thought it was the 29th. I could be
Yeah, I
mistaken.
think it's 29th.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Okay.
I will connect up with you guys before that, but that's not a problem.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all. And with that, I guess we'll go ahead and sign off.
Perfect. Thank you.
Give me a call if you have any questions. All right. Thank you all.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.